most of you who have made it this far. Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I'm trying to do a theological audit, which is straightening out theology. In the Watchtower study article 41 of the Watchtower study edition for October 2019, Staying Faithful Through the Tribulation, and it's turned out to be a bit of a rabbit hole of theological mess suited to their organisation. But I've come up to this one, paragraph 12. How has the faithful and discreet slave been preparing us for what is coming in the future? Now, identifying the faithful and discreet slave, oh my gosh, I don't know how they've come up with the idea that they are the faithful and discreet slave, but nevertheless they have. And it's this bunch of people, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society governing body. I don't know all the I know Anthony Morris, I know Garrett Loesch, Jeffrey Jackson, Samuel Hurd, Stephen Lett. Not sure of this bloke, and I'm not sure of that bloke, but I do believe, is that Cook? That guy there, I'm not sure, but this is the governing body of the Jehovah Witnesses. Interesting bunch of people. They're leading the deception. To be honest, the only way I can say it is they're leading the deception, but these people are highly theologically deceived. I don't know how else you can put it. It's just the way it is. But thinking they're the faithful and discreet slave of Matthew. And I think we'll go to Matthew 24 in its entirety. This passage is gone over and over. People have gone over and over this again and again and again. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave whom his master appointed over his domestics to give them food, give them their food at the proper time? Happy is that slave if his master on coming finds him doing so. Well, the poor old faithful and discreet slave's in for a shock because they've been lying to their members. Now, this idea that the governing body thinks they're the faithful and discreet slave of Matthew 24. My goodness me, I've talk about use religion as a business shopfront. These guys are the best in the business. I tell you, they've made billions, not millions, billions out of religion.
Hello again. In this chapter, in Search of Christian Freedom, the faithful and discreet slave, Ray determines that this has always been the foundation teaching, but of course it's changed in a major way at least 3 times now. He wants to develop how the changes morphed over the decades between his early years in the Watchtower as a pioneer and his leaving the Watchtower in the early 1980s. He says, first we note that the Watchtower Society's teaching is that the slave class has had a continuous, uninterrupted existence from its beginning in 33 AD, that is Pentecost, the Watchtower's date for Pentecost, until the present time. The Watchtower of January 15, 1975, pages 46 and 47, emphasize this, saying, quote, Jesus had said, "Look, I am with you all the days." But that's the literal Greek, by the way, all the days, not always, as many Bibles say. All the days, literally, until the conclusion of the system of things. That's, of course, Matthew 28, verse 20, the last verse of the so-called Great Commission. The Watchtower goes on, Jesus Christ is the head of the congregation, his slave, and his words show that he would strengthen them to feed his domestics right down through the centuries. Apparently, one generation of the slave class fed the succeeding generation thereof, as well as continuing to feed themselves. We see then that Jesus Christ himself called attention to this method of feeding his people, not as isolated, independent individuals, but as a close-knit body of Christians having real love and care for one another. Notice this notion, which Ray will go back to shortly, a close-knit body, not scattered Christians. Then Ray goes on with his comments. There is no question that there have been men and women who, as individuals, were true Christians during all the centuries. Jesus' words at Matthew 28:20 make this clear. This, however, is not what the Watchtower insists on. Rather, it calls for the ongoing existence of a slave class, only as a close-knit body. Down through the centuries, only through such a close-knit body has the spiritual food flowed. No allowance is made for Christ having fed any persons not connected with such a close-knit body, individuals who were isolated or in unconnected, scattered groups of Christians. What this translates to, in actual fact, is the concept that all these persons were tied together organizationally. This is clear when we consider the modern-day application of the slave class identification. From as far back as July 15, 1943, Watchtower, which said on pages 215 and 216, quote, "The physical facts since AD 1878 down to 1918 prove that the small body of consecrated, spirit-begotten men and women who were and are unitedly serving Jehovah God and His kingdom in conjunction with the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society matched the prophetic description of the servant. Therefore, such ones, though bodily spread throughout the earth, yet unitedly cooperating by means of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, are the Lord's servant body on earth." The historical reality of such premise, this is Ray's comment, of any close-knit, interrelated, composite body down through the centuries, constituting the sole recipient of Christ's feeding and thereby becoming the sole channel of instruction from God for all Christians everywhere, is nowhere demonstrated or documented. It is simply asserted. The interpretation advanced and the organizational stance taken requires it. What does history actually reveal regarding this premise? Now, I can speak for myself and for all the others I knew personally during my years in the Watchtower. There was a very foggy view. We had a very foggy view of the 1800 years between the death of the apostles and the rise of Charles Taze Russell. But what does the Watchtower do with that 1800 years? And we'll find, as Ray develops in the next segment, that just as they cherry-pick scripture to come up with their key doctrines, they cherry-pick history to substantiate in some form, although vague and certainly lacking specifics, this notion that there's been a faithful and discreet class that has somehow fed the next generation, which is the faithful and discreet slave, continuously from the apostles until Russell and Rutherford.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.